We've seen Hank and that abominable sludge man that Dangerville called Primatus Rex get absolutely pummeled by the Indominus 2.0. After all, the guy cheated and still lost harder than the self-mutilating failure that was the Scorpius Rex times 11. He did this to himself! Then, madly Mesozoic created a behemoth known as Dichiotherium Deus, aka Samson, which did sort of have a good chance of defeating the Indominus 2.0. However, is bogged down by its sheer mass and its immobility basically, as well as its insatiable hunger. Since the creation of Primatus Rex and Samson though, countless other people had tried to create a creature of their own to challenge the Indominus 2.0, causing what is essentially a great hybrid war among many attempts to earn a spot in the arena against the Indominus 2.0, including my friend who failed by mashing and everything to a... So I thought, why not also bring in a challenger? It only felt right for a somewhat large paleotuber like me to give it a go. Contrary to most others, who would make Mega Predator challenge a Mega Predator, I'm going to stick to my herbivorous bias. The question is, can I make a creature that can give the Indom 2.0 a run for its money, using the Edmontosaurus annectans as its base? No, we're not going to be using the Jurassic Park / Jurassic World Edmontosaurus, as that is a defenseless coward and only waits for predators to make it their next meal. The Edmontosaurus we're going to be using is the one from in real life. Not this one! This just literally is dead! Did not even try to defend itself! Did you even try, my brother? So, that means things will get a bit bloody. Before we begin, we have to analyze our opponent, the Indominus 2.0. The shorter legs of our adversary gives it much more speed and stealth, and given that this is a 1v1 in a neutral environment with no other hint, well, besides the fact that this battle takes place in the Isla Nublada, it will either start over here, the battle, somewhere like this. If it's an open playing field, our Montosaurus would stand a little bit of a better chance, but Goji Center gave no more hints other than Isla Nublada and a neutral environment, so that means that we're going to have to assume the worst case scenario for our Montosaurus, which is the battle taking place in a forest. The ape contributions in the Indominus 2.0's genome combined with the Word of God's forbidden using humans, chimps, or gorillas, because the entire hominid tribe is forbidden in our creature's genome, means that the Indominus 2.0 now has a massive advantage in terms of grappling and tool usage. The Indominus 2.0 has a massive advantage in grappling and tool usage, like, for example, uprooting a tree branch and using it as a weapon. As you can see here, the Indominus can grab, and the Indominus can also use tools. Sharpen metal pole guy! Given its firm grip, it can climb onto anything it desires and use its fast twitch muscles to mangle and slash with unimaginable power. And that is not to mention its big contributor, the northern short-tailed shrew. This animal gives the Indom iron teeth that are also venomous, meaning that one bite will end the battle quickly. The constant state of adrenaline rush thanks to the shrew genome would mean that our adversary would be more curious than scared, foregoing self-preservation instincts for more motivation to kill and destroy. With how this thing is able to resist venom and have armor everywhere, an ideal solution would be to bring someone that could pierce through its thick hide and osteoderms. Well, something. But the Indom 2.0 would just topple him over, meaning our most reliable weapon would be size, but also speed. And a real-life Edmontosaurus annectans is the perfect thing to add contributors upon. It has size, but also speed and stamina, which we will have to utilize for any chance of victory. And to make sure our Juggernaut has the confidence to take on this abomination, we are going to be using specimens that could have reached over 15 tons. This is a good base, but we'll definitely need more. The Edmontosaurus's head is fairly simple, yet could work over here. Its bill faces downward, and despite having no teeth, it is adequate for foraging and biting down on predators. I know this is an Indominus regalis, not an Indominus nectens, but you get what I mean here. But what would make an Indominus head be more adapted to biting and gripping on our opponent? Well, teeth, but not this sort of teeth. What sort of teeth? Didn't you say that even without teeth, our Indominus can bite down on predators? Recall that the Indominus 2.0 has armor around its whole body thanks to the Dwarf Croc genome. So, for maximum compatibility, we are going to be applying a hippo's incisors and canines, made of enamel by the way, such that the beak would become basically these. Would give our Edmontosaurus a more powerful and lethal hold on the Indom 2.0. Especially if it could manage to break through an artery. After all, the Indom 2.0 would be unable to deflect every single attack with its armor. Our hippo traits will also come in handy later on, but for now, let's move on to our next topic. I mentioned earlier that the Indominus 2.0 could potentially climb on an animal or topple it over. This thing can also leap onto things easily despite its vast-given engine's weird way of doing things. Bad thing is, in a neutral environment, the Indom 2.0, without any self-preservation instincts, is going to climb, leap, or flip over anything in its path without second thought, using its monkey arms. The fact that we cannot counteract on this by adding chimps or gorillas is also concerning. Good thing is, we don't need chimps or gorillas in our Eddie's genome. We are content with adding 2 more creatures in our genome. Wait a second. Why aren't you using Borealopelta or Ankylosaurus? They have more armor. The one has also a club tail. Look more closely. Do you see how massive that club tail is? It's going to weigh our creature down. You know, I'd love to use Borealopelta. However, I feel like its armor is too heavy, and it would just limit the mobility of our Mollusaurus. This Skeletosaurus already has adequate enough armor to deal with Indom 2.0's a bunch of attacks, whether it's a bite from the neck or something, you know, or climb on top of the thing. You can't really properly mount on it. Nice thing is that because of the Skeletosaurus's light armor, it's not going to hinder on our Mollusaurus mobility that much, and we'll definitely need mobility. Then what will be our next component? Let me show you. We're also going to be adding the Lurdusaurus. Judging by its anatomy, we're not going to be adding Lurdusaurus to our Ed's neck. It's just going to have more room for the Indom 2.0 to bite the fucking thing. So we're going to be adding a thumb spike to our Edmontosaurus, giving our hybrid another means to destroy that dark creature. Don't worry, it won't really change how the Edmontosaurus' front limbs look. It will still have those hooves. And of course, it will not do anything to the hind limbs, lest we compromise on the Edmontosaurus' mobility. The Lurdusaurus will have another use later on instead of other iguanodonts. I chose this instead of other iguanodonts for another use later on, but for now, we're going to go for the arguably the most important part of the Edmontosaurus body. The tail of the thing, as you can see here, while not having the privilege of a club at the end of its tail like an ankylosaur, the rigid tail of our Monosaurus gives enough power to at least deter the Indom 2.0 for a short period. Thanks to a well-developed tail muscle called a caudiformalis longus, it gives our rat more mobility on its hind limbs, giving it more power on its kicks. Due to the sheer amount of muscle attachment to its rigid tail, the Monosaurus could accelerate very quickly, but also maintain its speed for a very long time, crucial for our combatant over here. Therefore, the potential modifications for the tail is limited, but I have a creature that can help us in the tail department. It's a little bit awkward to include this thing for our Monosaurus, but this fellow has a very, very long tail, which we could use to contribute to the tail of our thing, increasing its length and providing a counterbalance to the extra mass of its body. The spines along the tail would make it a bit more intimidating. And the Goji Center also said that bonus points would be added if there are stripes in our creatures, so the Iguana contributions would give bonus points thanks to them giving the tail stripes. Its purpose is going to be more of a whip now, but as long as we keep our tail somewhat rigid, it can still provide our Monosaurs enough stamina. Now, to address the tail detaching mechanism, this is only suitable for youngsters, while our combatant will not have such a mechanic, as that would just mean that its stamina advantage will be nullified. We will be addressing problems regarding our creature in a later section of the video, but now it's time to talk about some extra perks of our Juggernaut. Man, I had so much fun writing this one. First off, we're going to be borrowing from Indom 2.0, or just Indominus in general, and just add in a cuttlefish. That would make our Monosaurus be able to camouflage. But we're not going to stop here from the cuttlefish. No. The Indominus 2.0 has a powerful and venomous bite, courtesy to the T-Rex and Shrew genomes. Luckily, I have a creature that is compatible with our Edmontosaurus, the wild boar. Given that its sus traits include resistance to venom thanks to a relatively robust immune response, even though a hog would not have any contributions physically, besides the one issue we're talking on later, it would certainly help out our creature. But I chose a wild boar instead of a domestic pig because the next segment is the most important part. See, herbivores are no pushover. Jurassic World portrays them as defenseless cannon fodder, as you can see here. But have you seen elephants and rhinos before? And how aggressive they can be? Our Edmontosaurus over here, even though it has that herd mentality and would likely try run away first, it will get aggressive and defensive if there's nowhere else to go. Oh, and by the way, Hadrosaurs have the largest brain-to-body ratio of all ornithischians, so we can assume our hybrid is fairly smart for dinosaur standards, even though it may not be as smart as an elephant. This will ensure that even if we add more components to our Monosaurus will still have adequate problem-solving skills. And of course, as I said before, if there is nowhere to go for an Monosaurus, it's going to be very aggressive. With this, it's already going to be a bit wrathful to our dark opponent. This wrath is justified though, because our opponent is literally evil. With this in mind, our Monosaurus' behavior is going to complement well with our hippo, which is notorious for being an extremely deadly animal, killing around 500 humans per year, owing to their aggressive and territorial nature. Seeing that the Indominus 2.0 has both Croc and T-Rex genomes, our Edmontosaurus will immediately register our dark adversary as a threat. Because, you know, it's predator-prey relations after all. This would give our Monosaurus more motivation to stand its ground and hope to ward off the Indom 2.0. This aggressive and territorial nature of our hybrid also works well with the wild boar, whose territorial behavior complements our creature better than a domestic pig. The majority of the creatures in our genome have at least fairly complex problem-solving skills, also very necessary to deal with the Indom 2.0. And our creature's brain will be mostly made of Edmontosaurus, Lurdusaurus, Hippopotamus, and wild boar. Obviously, cuttlefish is there to camouflage, and as I'm recording this, my friend has already made a drawing of our creature, which I'm going to credit, by the way, and the dewlap is going to be incorporated, and if threatened, they'll just curl up. Skeletosaurs will probably not have any contributions to the brain of our animal. Our hybrid is a social animal that is semi-aquatic, and a hippo's lifestyle would definitely work in our favor. The Lurdusaurus also complements well on such lifestyle, increasing the congruity of our creature. instead of other iguanodontids. This creature would have a social structure similar to that of a hippo, living in pods, which works well the Edmontosaurus herd behavior. Our hybrid will be territorial, which would help it confront our adversary. And Edmontosaurus has good senses, very good at detecting a predator like a T-Rex. That means our Edmontosaurus is likely to detect the Indominus 2.0 from a good distance. Combining the sheer aggression and territorial behavior of the hippo and the good problem-solving skills in our creature's brain would ensure that our Edmontosaurus will have a decent chance of victory. Before we reveal our creature, let's answer a few questions. I said that I'm going to address problems regarding our creature, so this section is entirely just to do that. Question number 1. Would the iguana contributions compromise on the Edmontosaurus' stamina? Wouldn't this be counterintuitive? Well, possibly, but the wild boar genome may be able to solve this issue. By the way, I asked for consent from my friend to use these messages for the video, and my friend accepted, so don't question me for it. Question number 2. Would our elongated tail still have those muscle attachments that allow for greater stamina? Yes. In fact, our creature still has those tall neural spines. Forgot to mention those. This is literally why I include this bonus segment. Question number 3. How will your creature deal with overheating? Water, because of Hippo and Lurzosaurus DNA. Even without water, our hybrid animal can just pant, thanks to the boar DNA. For this exact reason, I did not bother to really increase the size of our Edmontosaurus, like Madly Mesozoic did with Samson. Question number 4, how would our hybrid win? It really depends, but it's most likely going to win by trampling the Indominus 2.0 to death. Really though, full body armor could only resist so much. Question number 5. Wouldn't Hippo DNA compromise on our thing's vision? Well, not really. Only thing our Edmontosaurus has to do is to identify the T-Rex and Croc genomes as threats. And given that our creature is so big, it would rather defend itself as its speed would reduce by quite a bit, but still rather fast. After all, it is an Edmontosaurus. Question number 6. How about the hearing? Senses. I think I addressed it earlier, but in short, the Edmontosaurus would be able to detect the Indom, thanks to the Indom's T-Rex genome, reducing the possibility of an ambush. Question number 7, would the thumb spike go against the Edmontosaurus? It would attract the Indom 2.0, of course. Then the Edmontosaurus would at least have another way of dealing serious damage to our opponent, but it's mostly going to be relying on its size. Question number 8, and also the last one. Are you going to submit this creature to Goji Center's hybrid warrior competition? As a matter of fact, yes, but please don't copy my creature. Make your own, please. Okay, so does my hybrid follow all the rules? Rule number 1, only extant and extinct animals, no fictitious creatures. Well, yeah, our hybrid has just 7 genomes, each being extant or extinct. Rule number 2. A single trace of kaiju DNA will send your hybrid directly to the Hall of Shame. As a matter of fact, Goji Center, speaking of that, please publicize the Hall of Shame and every creature that went there, but do not publicize their creators' names. Rule number 3, no human DNA allowed. The entire hominid tribe is also gone. Possibly the hominid family too. I literally quoted Goji's comments to prove my point. Number 4, the hybrid must be primarily terrestrial. Well, our hybrid is semi-aquatic. It kinda counts as primarily terrestrial. Goji Center even allowed that. I asked that, by the way. I'm going to be quoting on this to prove my point. Rule number 5. Gene modifications must be present at least one genetic contributor. I explained already in detail, its behavior and stamina and all that jazz. Rule number 6. Every body part or weapon that the hybrid is equipped with must be present in at least one of the genetic contributors. Well, I got that covered. And finally, rule number 7. The only form of custom gene editing allowed will be for cosmetic purposes. My hybrid is going to be generally greenish with slightly bluish tinges. By now, you've probably noticed that my creature has been referencing Fairy Tail a little bit. Well, you know, my video has been referencing Fairy Tail a little bit because I'm referring to my opponent as dark and all that. And it's because we're going to be referencing one of the characters from Fairy Tail. Keep watching this video to see which fairy tale character I'm referencing. To summarize, here are our 7 contributors to our creature's genome. The most notable ones being the Monosaurus, which is our base, and the Hippopotamus, which provides the Monosaurus's beak with teeth, as well as behavior and lifestyle. The Lurdusaurus gives our creature a thumb spike on its forelimbs, as well as lifestyle compatibility. The Skeletosaurus gives us adequate armor on neck, back, and upper limbs, without compromising on the Monosaurus' mobility. The Iguana contributes to our Monosaurus' tail. The Wild Boar gives our Monosaurus stamina improvements, as well as much-needed venom resistance, especially when it comes to the Indominus 2.0. And finally, the Cuttlefish is there to help us camouflage, making it harder for the Indominus 2.0 to detect the Edmontosaurus. Now that I've got everything covered, it's time that I introduce my magnificent beast to the world. Introducing to you, the Edmontosaurus magnamphibius. Ignore that small stick man, by the way. The dude is just super small. Just ignore that guy. But anyways, height around 14 feet on the hips. Length around 17 meters. And a mass of around 19.6 tons. The Edmontosaurus magnamphibius is a semi-aquatic juggernaut living in pods, each individual being a walking weapon of mass destruction. And even a single individual can hold on its own against whatever predators Mother Nature decides to throw at it. Let's call our combatant Lucy, suggested by another friend. I went along with it, but I realized Lucy is also the same name as this girl over here. No, I'm not being down bad. I'm just referencing a fairy tale character called Lucy Heartfilia, just Lucy. Very fitting, as Lucy serves as not just a juggernaut, but a protector and a spirit guardian. Friends towards her companions, merciless to her enemies, especially our dark adversary. She will serve as the light and the key to victory. Have you heard of the Chinese idiom drawing legs on a snake before? This has always been the Chinese idiom that I base my hybrid on. Don't add unnecessary stuff to our hybrid. I threw some genos around when I was trying to create the thing, like the Styracosaurus, the Gorilla, and Thorny Devil, but ended up scrapping them. As I'm recording this, I've acknowledged that somebody in Goji's community post also calls whatever their creature is, they're gonna be called Lucy. So, admittedly, my creature's unique points is going to be deducted. Our Lucy still stands out because I don't think anyone has made an Edmontosaurus hybrid to deal with Indom 2.0 anyway. No offense to whoever made their Lucy, by the way. The thing is, I scroll through Goji's community post section and pay attention to what Goji said, using whatever info he disclosed to further refine my hybrid. I also tried looking at those people who reviewed their creations before the submission began, and most were predators, as I knew. I always thought the only thing a predator could die to more times than 10 was its own prey items, and not another predator. And I think I made my creature as refined and congruent of a prey item as I could. I feel like my creature does stand a chance, not trying to be biased here, as its instincts are not as split as like 90% of those creations. I'm not trying to brag though, and I admit the Indom 2.0 will win quite a few times, whether I'm wedging under and slashing Lucy's underbelly or managing to topple Lucy and quickly chomp on her before she could get up and become extremely aggressive. But I'm confident that whatever I create, this Juggernaut can stand up to the Indominus 2.0, when all her other predators would perish to the might of her sheer mass and gigantic hippos. And sus. Shout out to Tyler the Gaming Shark for drawing the thing. I couldn't be more grateful than I am that he actually took the time to draw the Edmontosaurus hybrid that I created. His channel is going to be in the description. Go subscribe to him. If you actually made it this far into the video, I'd be extremely grateful for your attentiveness. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you all in the next one.